Well, good morning, everyone. How are we doing today? Hey, this is the Army. You got to do better than that. How are we doing today? Yeah, you got to get them young men fired up out there on the field. Hey, before I get started, let's give it another round of applause to the great band out there. How about it, huh? Well, cadre, family, friends, and more importantly, to the brand new infantrymen standing before us today. Today is a great day to be a soldier in the United States of America. And in fact, every day is a great day to be a soldier. Thank you for having me here today. I'm humbled by the invitation, and it is certainly my privilege to speak to you on this very special occasion. This is in fact a quite humbling moment for me personally. Just 28 short years ago, I was standing where these fine soldiers stand today, and I can vividly remember the day I got off the bus at the reception station here at Fort Beginning. The moment I stepped off that bus, I immediately reflected back to what my older brother had told me months earlier. See, my older brother had already served and returned home from service in the Army as a mechanic from Korea. And as you can imagine, he was proud of his service and proud of the fact that he was a mechanic and a member of the Ordnance Corps. So when it was my turn to join, and I came home from the recruiting station, and I told him that I had joined the infantry, he looked me square in the eye, and he said, "What are you, stupid? I told you not to pick infantry. The whole time I was in Korea, all those infantry guys did was stand out in the cold, dig ditches, and break shit for a living." And you know what? In some regards, he was right. Throughout the years, I had to dig a few ditches. I had to spend a lot of time out in the cold, and I sure as hell broke a lot of shit. But most of it is because we intended to. So now let's fast forward to a little over 2 years ago, right before I was sworn in as the 15th Sergeant Major of the Army at the Pentagon in Washington, D.C. See, my brother traveled from northern PA to share that special moment with me. And I looked my brother in the eye and said, "Remember when you told me I'd made a mistake about signing up for the infantry? Remember when you told me all I would do is dig ditches? You remember when you told me, you said I would live out in the cold and all I would do is break stuff? Remember when you said I was a dummy?" He looked at me and he said, "Yeah, I remember. Why?" I said, "Well, who's the dummy now?" Infantry leads the way. And you never know. A future Sergeant Major of the Army could be standing out there right on that field in this formation. So it is indeed a distinct pleasure for me to stand before you as your Sergeant Major of the Army, but more so, gentlemen, as a fellow soldier and as a fellow infantryman. And as the Sergeant Major of the Army, I couldn't be more proud. Proud of the young men standing here today. See, having a military as a nation is a requirement, but service in our military, ladies and gentlemen, is a choice. And for over 241 years, we've been blessed. Blessed by the fact that men and women of this great nation and our great Army have been willing to sacrifice so much so that all of us can live in the greatest country the world has ever known, the United States of America. And preserving that legacy so that our children and our grandchildren can be afforded the very opportunity that was afforded to all of us by those who have served in the past. That legacy, ladies and gentlemen, must be preserved. And that task, ladies and gentlemen, will be upheld. Upheld by the fine American soldiers that stand before you today. Ladies and gentlemen, what stands before you today is more than just an American soldier. Ladies and gentlemen, what stands before you today is our nation's credentials. The men and women who, I assure you, when asked to do so, can and will preserve that legacy. Because in the United States Army, we have two rules. Rule number one, we don't play home games. And rule number two, we don't lose on the road. So ladies and gentlemen, please join me in a big round of applause for the brave young men and women standing before you today. Now, Mom and Dad, I know what you're thinking. Is he talking about my son? That young man that just 3 months ago couldn't get up on his own, barely got himself dressed, probably would have starved to death if we didn't make his food and place it in front of him. Never did his own laundry or even knew what a washing machine was, for that matter. Is he talking about my son, that kid that never picked up after himself? The same individual that would send me a text from the living room that said, "Mom, bring me a Mountain Dew," just so he didn't have to pause call with duty with his friends. Is he talking about my son? Well, yes, ma'am. Yes, sir, I am. And I can assure you I know what I'm talking about. Because I'm not only a soldier, I'm a father too. And I'm also an uncle. And my nephew, Cody Jones, is standing right out there. My best friend and his wife are standing right over there. And I know that's exactly what his mother's thinking right now. But Cody, and to all the rest of you, I have a message from each and every one of your parents. They are proud of you, and they love you very much. Oh, and Cody Jones, by the way, my name's not Uncle Danny anymore. It's Sergeant Major of the Army. But in a few short weeks, all those bad habits are gone, I assure you. And they can feed themselves now. And you know, they get up on their own, and they're darn sure heck know what a washing machine is, I can tell you that. And I ain't been playing no video games, Mom and Dad. They sure have not. And you probably noticed a difference yesterday when you picked them up. And I know what you're thinking. How in the heck did they get that boy to change so much in such little time? Well, it's simple, ladies and gentlemen. It's called a drill sergeant. That's right. Give him a round of applause. So I can't tell you exactly how they do it. That's our trade secret. Then you wouldn't need us. But what I can tell you is that they are nothing short of amazing. If I were to stand here and try to describe to you a fourth of what a drill sergeant had to deal with every single day, it would take me all day to do it, and you would be tired. Ladies and gentlemen, our drill sergeants are the best our Army has to offer. They are hand-selected professionals trained to accomplish the daunting task of transforming America's sons and daughters into the finest fighting machines the world has ever known. Please join me in a round of applause for our drill sergeants and their cadre. Now, they have done a phenomenal job, haven't they? I'd ask that you take the time after this ceremony and thank them for what they do. But also wish them luck, because they got to do it all again next week. And maybe, just maybe, they'll let you in on their trade secret. You know what? What the heck? I'm going to tell you how we do it. Ladies and gentlemen, you know how you get them to do everything you want them to do? You don't do it for them, Mom. But it also helps to be a drill sergeant, too. But with all seriousness, I think I speak for all the family members here today when I say that we couldn't be more proud of each and every one of you. Congratulations to all the graduates. More than 150 of you successfully completed the requirements for Infantry one-station unit training. Not only did you meet the standards, but time and again, you far exceeded what was expected of you. Your first Army physical fitness test average was 171, but your final average was 241. A 70-point increase is absolutely remarkable. And any great leader will tell you that being physically fit is the hallmark of being a great soldier and a great infantryman. And you all are well on your way. Your company had the highest rifle marksmanship average of any in the last 6 cycles. Your company average was expert, with an average of 36.38 hits out of 40 shots. Ladies and gentlemen, that is a lethal group of soldiers out there. Well done, soldiers, and well done, drill sergeants and cadre. You embody the very essence and profession of arms through your hard work, stellar example, discipline, and leadership. You know, over the past 14 weeks, you've learned battle drills and warrior tasks. You've learned what it means to be part of a team. You've learned the importance of esprit de corps, You've learned just how effective you can be with a solid work ethic, following the standards and exercising discipline. By raising your hand, you become one of the 1% of Americans who serve in the United States military today. And by completing your requirements here today, you are now part of a much smaller population, a proud few. You've become the greatest weapon on the planet, a U.S. Army infantryman. And we stand here today, there are more than 182,000 soldiers serving in more than 140 countries around the globe, in places like Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, Africa, Eastern Europe, South America, and Korea, just to name a few. You name it, we're there. Our soldiers are on point, defending the freedoms we often take for granted. The adventure you have embarked on is at the height of the most volatile and complex time our Army has ever seen. We fight on multiple fronts, and we require highly educated and trained professionals to carry out missions not only on the ground, but in air, sea, space, and today, even cyberspace. You are now part of this team, a team like no other on this planet, and you will no doubt impact the history of this great nation and bring great credit upon all who have served before you, but also pride to everyone back home who knows you. You're going to hear a lot of things in your career, but I want you to hear this from me. Whether you serve 20 years or get out after your first initial enlistment, you are, from this day forward, until your dying day, a soldier for life and an infantryman, a title that so many respect, but so few have earned. You are a special breed and a part of a proud few who wear the bright blue infantry cord. World War II journalist Ernie Pyle once said of the infantrymen, they are the underdogs. They are the mud, rain, and wind boys. They have no comforts, and they have even learned to live without the necessities. In the end, they are the guys that wars cannot be won without. There is no other group of people that you will find that will take so much pride in how much little sleep they get or the fact that they haven't had a shower in 3 days. Normal people see beauty in sculptures of Da Vinci, the paintings of Monet, or a mountain sunset. But infantrymen, we see beauty in the mud on our boots, the dirt on our faces, the cold in our breath, the sweat across our brows, and sometimes the tears in our eyes from some hard-won victories, the shared misery, and oh, that fine Army chow. I always tell people I'm just an infantryman, but that just means I'm simple. Nothing against the other services or occupations in the Army, but we don't have the big boats or planes, the fancy tanks that can shoot 7 miles. For us, in most cases, all we have is what we have: a rucksack, a rifle, and each other. Give me a mission, give me a group of motivated infantrymen like this, and give me a weapon, and I'm as happy as can be. Our job as infantrymen is to fight and win. Fight and win our nation's wars when called to do so. The most effective close-range weapon on any battlefield, in any country, in any time in history, has and always will be the infantryman. In 16th century Spain, their standing army was the most significant since the Roman Empire stormed the European continent. Princes, or infantes in Spanish, were often appointed to command those armies, and their troops became known as infanteria. Your lineage is long and storied. Its tale is the story of human civilization and human conflict. The queen of battle, descendants from princes born of blood, sweat, and tears for lost battle buddies, the infantryman is a sacred breed among men. He bears more extremes of discomfort, he endures more pain and fatigue, and withstands more insurmountable odds than can be easily imagined. It is hard to imagine that almost 28 years ago, I stood in a formation on this parade field right here at Fort Benning, Georgia. And just like you all, I received my cross rifles and a bright blue infantry cord. And just like you, I didn't know what the future held and where I'd end up in the years before my enlistment expired. But almost immediately after graduating basic training here, I reported to Germany, and 6 weeks later shipped off to Saudi Arabia for Operation Desert Shield and Desert Storm. Many of you could soon find yourselves at the tip of the spear for a number of missions that are of the utmost importance to the security and the safety of the people of this nation and our way of life. But just remember, not everyone in America can be a soldier, and that's okay. And not everyone in America wants to be a soldier, and that's okay too. But each and every one of you, you chose to be soldiers. So thank you, and God bless you, each and every one of you. because today is a great day to be a soldier in the United States Army, Army Strong.